And I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat. They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension and everything and the drama.
How dare! Look at this! How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
You know, considering the month of sports that it actually was, it's going to be really hard. I think we do need to actually literally calm down. What a week, not necessarily what a week in hockey, but what a week, of course, for the World Series. But welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, and subscribe wherever you get your audio. Sean, how are you doing?
Deflated, Kev. Deflated. I know. Look, you are not a Jays fan. You're a Mariners fan. And you're allowed to be, and that's fair. But I've never been a huge baseball fan, but playoff baseball is always fun to watch. A lot of people in my life have been Jays fans, so I've always kept up with them. And I kind of just fell in love with this Jays team, from Alejandro Kirk to Ernie Clement to what Vladdy means to that franchise. Mad Max Scherzer. I fell in love with this team, and I was absolutely gutted for them to lose in extra innings after having multiple chances, almost winning it multiple times. It sucks, Kev. It sucks.
Listen, I totally feel you. I totally feel you. I was a week from this when my heart was smashed by the Blue Jays and their comeback win on Game 7 of the World Series. And Mariners also had multiple chances to win, up 2-0, up 3-2, up 3-1 in the bottom of the 7th. So I totally feel that it just is just a heart-ripping, probably a little more considering the actual Commissioner's Trophy is in the Rogers Center. It is your one win away, and you're right. So many opportunities for the Blue Jays to come away with it. But the Dodgers are the champions. Really, for a lot of ways, you do have to give the credit to the Dodgers for finding a way to pull this out.
No,
I'm
not doing it, Kevin. I'm not doing it. They bought it. They bought it.
They didn't buy it. They did not buy it.
How much money did they sink into their starting rotation?
The Dodgers and the Blue Jays are the top 5 payrolls in baseball. Here's why you got to give credit for the Dodgers though. And I know you're not ready to hear this, but it wasn't there as much as they bought that, as much as it was that you talk about the high player guys. It was the guys like Will Smith that was an absolutely incredible clutch home runs. Miguel Rojas, absolutely a couple of amazing defensive plays. And you got to kind of unfortunately, just from the Blue Jays perspective, there was just a lot of base running gaffes that I think they're going to look back on and just, you got the Addison Barger play, which I almost don't really blame him, but he gets caught there in the bottom of the 9th in Game 6. I think that there's going to be a lot of people talking about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and the small lead that he took at third. And maybe if he runs a little quicker, that game is over. Who knows? But there was just just a lot of things that the Blue Jays, in terms of base running, I think that when they look back on this series, that was ended up being their Achilles heel. I mean, even the situation where Guerrero strikes out in the bottom of the first, Springer's caught in kind of in no man's land. Not sure what's going on. That happened a couple of times in this series. I think that that's ultimately where the Blue Jays end up losing this series. But I feel you.
Also, Kevin, Will Smith.
What's that?
By the way, Will Smith Will Smith has a $140 million contract.
Yeah, but there's people. That's chump change in MLB here, Sean. It is. I mean, you got like Vladdy's. What is Vladdy making money? It is a lot of fucking money. It is. But you got like look. I congratulated the Blue Jays when they won. I gave them the credit. You win the World Series. The Dodgers deserve some credit, but I totally feel that this is just a fresh, raw emotion this morning for the Blue. I feel it. I get it. I'm going to encourage people with something though. I'm going to touch on this more in the Flames podcast, but I'm going to encourage a lot of people to stay off social media. I'm actually getting severely concerned of how people's mental health is on social media, because it's not only that like people are tweeting, oh, bad play by Barger. They just are consistently tweeting about horrible play, like, and it's 24/7. Like, I'm literally getting concerned about people's mental health. So I'm going to tell you a lot of people.
It's so easy to be negative. It's so easy to be just constantly just complaining on, yelling into the void and complaining on social media. Yeah, it's not. If you're watching a game, get off social media.
Yeah,
honestly, two things, and this is going to sound hilarious because, like, yes, we're on a podcast, but we'll do this. Stop consuming, like, pick and choose what you consume, and when you're watching the game, watch the game. Don't spend it on social media.
Yeah,
if you have your group chats that you trust and all that, that's fine, but stay off through the main feed as much as you can. We're in the streaming age, and your stream's most likely at least 30 seconds to a minute behind, depending on how bad your connection is, what stream you're using, whether you're on the high seas or actually streaming legally. But it's just the two things that have changed my perspective, and I think you can see how much less angry I am is I try and stay up as much of the main social media feeds during games, and it's picking and choosing what I consume sports wise and finding a balance, because I think if I want you to consume ours, but if all you're doing is consuming sports, like hockey content or baseball content or football content, and you're not balancing things out, it's so easy to be negative, and it leaks in from outside of sports too, because it's a bit of a tough world out there. So sports are supposed to be fun. Sports are supposed to be an escape. Don't make yourself an angry person over them.
Yeah, it's becoming. It is. I know for me, it's affecting me a little bit too. And I mean, I had to step away after the Mariners loss. If you're a Blue Jays fan, I think probably stepping away from social media, just getting some clarity. And sports depression is real, and it's okay to cry over a loss. That's a tough loss. There's no question about it. You cannot deny that in any way, shape, or form. Give yourself that time to recuperate and just step away. It's okay. Nobody should criticize you for it. Let's get back to hockey, and I'm sorry to bring up a tough subject, but this is one of our favorite players on the Shifts and Pucks podcast. And if you didn't see this last night, I'm going to encourage you not to go see it. But Chris Tanev was left the Flyers game, unfortunately, on a stretcher last night for an unfortunate hit from Matvei Michkov. There is an update from Leafs PR this morning. They did announce that Chris Tanev was evaluated overnight in Philadelphia for precautionary purposes, and he has been discharged this morning and will return home to Toronto. So at least some good news there. But that was just, you don't want to see any player leaving on a stretcher is scary. But when it's Chris Tanev, that just tugged a little bit harder for us.
Yeah. Hope he has a quick and a quick recovery and doesn't have any lasting effects.
Yeah, for sure. All the best to Tanev. Let's look at the week for the Vancouver Canucks, which, all in all, I don't think you can complain too much about a 2-2 week, but we'll see what happens here. You come away with a 4-3 OT win over Edmonton. Probably, if it was not the first best played game, it was certainly the second best played game. It was the top two. You get the Oilers do tie it late on the power play, but the Kiefer the Sniper Sherwood wins it in overtime, and the Canucks win 4-3. They do lose to JT Miller and the New York Rangers in a relatively uneventful 2-0 win for the Rangers. And then a 4-3 shootout win over the St. Louis Blues. I think some people will feel that should have been a 4-3 regulation win for the Blues. I'll let you talk about that later. And a 5-2 loss to the Minnesota.
It should have been, Kevin, and anyone saying otherwise is lying to themselves.
Okay, so let's go through. Let's go through some takeaways. What are we coming away with here from the Canucks in terms of? I guess maybe let's start with, I think, the one that everybody's. Go ahead. You go wherever you want to go.
They're lacking confidence offensively right now. This team, after such a crazy season last year with off ice issues, and now you're dealing with all these injuries. They're fighting. Petey hasn't been good enough. He's shown glimpses of the old Petey, but still not. He's not controlling the play 5-on-5 like they need him to. And the other, outside of Kiefer Sherwood, the rest of the team is just, they're following Petey's lead and struggling offensively. When they get a couple goals early, they feel it, but if they don't, they're fighting it. And you look at some of the other teams in the NHL, and they're on heaters. You're feeling it. They've got the confidence offensively that this Canucks team doesn't have right now.
Is it? I mean, there's not really a lot of options when I ask this question right now, but is it partly line mates? Like, did you see a difference with Petey and Garland as opposed to Petey and Besser?
I think Garland does make a difference a little bit for Petey, but I think it's just it's been a death by 1,000 cuts for this team right now. Like I said, they just haven't been able to string multiple good games in a row and start feeling it offensively. They haven't been able to do that. They'll have one or two or like 1 and 1.5, and then they have a dud. And when you're fighting it the way this team is, you need to put together 3 to 4 in a row, or at least 3 or 4 in 5 games to get there. And they haven't done that yet. And every time they lose another player to injury, it compounds things. Like they did this without Quinn Hughes this week. They lost Brock Besser for the majority of the St. Louis game. He's back, luckily, but they're just, if they can find a way to keep their heads above water, with all these injuries and find a way to get some confidence once they start getting players back, then this team could be dangerous. But that's still a major question mark if they can do that.
Yeah. Okay. So they're 6-7 right now. They are 12 points. They They're only 2 points back of the wild card spot, which is held by the Kings. I mean, this is very early, so we're, and they're really actually 2 points behind Seattle. Like they are 5, 2, and 4, but they have 14 points. All in all, like when you look at the Pacific Division, I'm still like, just for me, I'm not sold on Seattle yet. I mean, I think Joey Decord is playing some really good goal, but I don't know if that team is. I don't know if what the Kraken are doing is completely sustainable. I think the LA Kings, I'm just not sure about them either. So I think it's probably looking at what the playoff race is in the Pacific Division. You are looking at, well, there's Anaheim there too, and I don't know about Anaheim. Like, I got to be honest. Like, I know that a lot of people were really hyped on Anaheim. I'm not buying them yet. They've only played 10 games so far this year, though, too, right? So this is probably Vancouver, Anaheim, LA, Seattle are going to be battling for that last spot in the Pacific Division and maybe the wild card. They've lost the most. I think that they've got the most injuries by far in the NHL. I think from what people are saying. I think they're gonna. I think that they can hang in there. It's tough. Like, do agree with you. You need more than from PD overall. It's been better, but it's not quite there. I think Jake DeBrusk has been generally inconsistent for the most part this year, and I think you could say the same for most of that forward group. Defensively, you still got a pretty strong blue line. But you clearly miss Quinn Hughes. I think the good thing in this week, Kevin Lankinen was pretty good against St. Louis and got you the win overall. So I think that's a good sign. Because I mean, you cannot expect Thatcher Demko to stand on his head every night. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot of players on this team other than PD, DeBrusk, and Besser that are probably in a bottom 6 role or part of the Abbotsford Canucks. So all things considered, this is where the Canucks are at is not a terrible position. I would rather be in that position than where the St. Louis Blues are at this point or the Calgary Flames are at this point. I would take the Vancouver Canucks situation over a few other teams by far. Yeah. Do we want to talk? Let's just okay, and just go ahead and give your opinion on the the goaltender interference challenge in St. Louis. Oh,
Sorry about
Sean,
that, Kev.
well, that's okay. I didn't realize you left or something happened.
Connection issues. Let's keep going.
Okay. So give us your perspective on the goaltender interference and why you don't think it was the right call.
Because there was the contact was very, very minimal, and Binnington made a save before after that contact, and then he still had an opportunity to make the save on the goal. And you look at how Binnington reacted to, he knew he wasn't interfered with. He wasn't throwing a tantrum like Binnington is known to do when something like that happens. And when you take 5 minutes to Zapruder film frame by frame, whether to see if there's a millimeter of contact on a goalie, you've lost the plot. It was not goaltender interference. That should have been a regulation win for the Canucks. I'm glad they got the shootout win, but that was brutal. I'm sorry, that was brutal.
No, it's totally fair. I think I'm almost at the point where I'm hating this goaltender interference rule because it's so. I just, again, we've talked about this over the years. It is so inconsistent. But I mean, I almost want to take it out of the coach's hand. I don't know. There has to be a time limit to this if you're going to do this, because ultimately, really, even if you're going to overrule that challenge or whatever, is that not delay of game if you're taking 5 minutes? Is that not the definition of delay of game? Anyway, yeah, I'm starting to get not a big fan of that rule.
Well, that's the whole thing too, is like it's a subjective call. And anything that you are reviewing should be an objective call. It should be onside, it should be offside, it should be high stick or no high stick. But anytime there's a subjectiveness to it, then that's what goaltender interference is. It's the same thing.
Yeah, in the CFL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the Stamps. I'm not going to harp on your heartbreak, but the Stamps also tough loss there. Anyway, yeah. So that was the week. Anything else about the week? I guess let's there's two players that we saw a little bit more this week that made their Canuck debut. Thoughts on Lucas Reichel?
He looks good. I can see why the Canucks went after him. I can see why Chicago gave up on him. But he's got speed and he's got some offensive upside that I think, again, once this team gets a little more confidence and some bounces offensively, I think he could go off. He could go off and finally hit and as an NHL player. So I think I like that pickup as a buy low option for the Canucks.
Yeah. And Tom Willander made his debut this week. How thoughts on him?
Exactly what I expected from him. Steady play, moves the puck well, plays a smart game. He still needs he just needs more experience, and he's going to be a very good defenseman. He's not going to have the flashiness that a lot of people want, especially when you've got the high skill of Hughes and others that get all the press. But he's going to be a very big piece on this blue line going forwards.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think, Reichel, I think I agree with you. I think that's a good way to put it. You get a little bit of, you see why Chicago traded him, but you also see why Vancouver wanted him. And that this may be a situation. It's just the easy name that I'm going to use. It's not the same situation, but I'm just going to toss this out there. It may be a Sam Bennett, even another, like one of those guys that is a high pick, a first round pick, that their second team is where they kind of find their game. This is probably what's going to happen with Lucas Reichel. He's going to find his game here in Vancouver. And that's not really, I'm not really a super huge criticism on the Blackhawks. I think that's just more how players develop. They get out of what they've been taught. They kind of find their own game and their own identity, and they become good. They become the player that everyone thinks that they kind of should be. I mean, you even look at Podkolzin. The Podkolzin in Edmonton is not the Podkolzin in Vancouver. It's just not the same player. He's a much different player. He's a much more confident player. That's what I see with Lucas Reichel. Tom Willander is, you're right, Sean. I think you can't rush defensemen in the NHL. This is not a league where you can this is not the development league. This is the National Hockey League. It is the greatest league in the world, and you cannot have defensemen developing in the National Hockey League. It's not necessarily working for them. And I think that there's a lot with Tom Willander to really like, but again, he needs some seasoning. He needs some experience. Yeah, I know that you look at people like Lane Hudson, ZBM, and some of these other defensemen that jump right in. That's a rare percentage. So Tom Willander will be a good defenseman in the National Hockey League for sure. The other two topics that came up this week with the Canucks, the big one is Kiefer Sherwood, 9 goals, unrestricted free agent. See, I mean, at least Sean, we're not hearing as much of the is Quinn Hughes leaving Vancouver after every game. It is right now. Are we signing Kiefer Sherwood or are we trading Kiefer Sherwood? But is it too early to have this conversation?
No, because he's been one of the best players the Canucks last week or so. He's been sort of the heartbeat of the Canucks. He had a really good season last year, and he looks like he's trying to beat it this year. So what's been the number that Rick Dollywall has been hammering is that his contract's going to start with a 4. His next one. The issue with Kiefer Sherwood is that he plays such a rough and physical style, and he's 30, so you don't know when that cliff's going to happen. When he's going to fall off. So, and he's going to. But the other thing is, he's going to want to cash in and make the money he needs to make before his career ends. So it's a very tough contract to negotiate at this point. But he's someone I want on this team for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Even if his physical play falls off, you know that his motor and his drive will not. So if his next contract starts at 4 million, or between 4 and 5 million, you're looking at between 3.8 and 4.8% on next year's cap, which is just the beginning of it, right? The cap's going up. We have to remember that now. So you're looking at 3.6 to 4.5 million on $108 million cap to start. So if you can get him on the 3.6 would have been what his contract would be at this point. At this current cap. Sorry about that.
That's right.
So if you go 4 million or even 4.5 contract, it may be a little steep to start, but once the cap goes up the way we expect it will, it's going to be a fine contract. So I think as long as you keep the term down, I think it's a contract that the Canucks can afford and should be able to get done.
Okay, let's go down the trade route just for the hell of it. What do you get for Kiefer Sherwood?
I honestly don't know, Kev, because he's on a top team. He is a bottom 6 forward who can play up the lineup. So you're not getting a haul for him. Unless the team is able to sign him to a nice deal right after. Remember, he'll be considered a rental if they decide to do that. So I think you start talking contract now and see what the numbers are looking like, and you can find a deal that works for both sides. You do it, but trade, you're not talking trade until at the very earliest New Year.
Right. Yeah, I just I asked that only because I think that just to put this into this perspective, I think for me, I would imagine if you're trading Kiefer Sherwood, I think it's a conditional pick depending on playoff success. Like if it's a Tampa, it's probably a conditional. It's if they get to the final, it'll be a higher pick. I think a lot of teams would look that, and I think probably a B-level prospect. I don't see it being the haul that I think Canuck fans are hoping for if you're making this trade. And ultimately, if you end up in a playoff spot, you want Kiefer Sherwood on your team. This is a guy kind of as similar to me to Brendan Gallagher a guy. He will give his motor, he will give everything that he has, and then probably will lose a step, but it will still be valuable to the team. Yeah, I think I'm still a little bit on the wait and see of what you're going to pay him. I wouldn't necessarily jump and do this now. I would want to wait a little bit. I would maybe start seeing if we can talk about contract in the new year. But I'm not trading him right now for sure. I think he's, I think enjoy what you got here and see where this goes for Kiefer Sherwood. But like if this becomes a trade situation for the Canucks, I don't like a lot of these trade deadline trades for the most part don't turn out the way that I think a lot of people. You'll understand this, Sean. A lot of the way that fantasy bookers book the trade deadline don't happen the way that people think that they do. It's not. It's more. I'll use a Flames example. There's more of a chance of a Daniil Maramonov or a Justin Sordiff, another example, a guy that might be a project that might end up being something that might say play some NHL games, but it is very rare that you're getting Callum Ritchie, the guy that will end up being in your top 6. Very rare that happens. It's just, I think there's a lot of unreasonable expectations about a lot of these trades that happen at the trade deadline.
The prospects that you get in these trades are rarely prospects that are going to, they're rarely prospects that teams hold truly highly. Even look at the Bo Horvat trade. They got Atu Ratu, and he's looked okay. He's still coming along, but he's not a top 6 guy. So, and that's if he can be a third line center for the Canucks long term here, that's a win. So there's a reason the teams are willing to give up on those players, right? So it's what you do with the draft picks that really makes or breaks these big trades. And again, it's way too fucking early to talk trade and selling off where the Canucks are. They are not going to be looking at trading Kiefer Sherwood at, like I said, at the very fucking earliest is the new year. The reason I say you start talking contract now is you want not necessarily to sign him immediately or as soon as possible, but to figure out what the numbers look like. And then if he continues to play like he is right now, then yeah, you lock him up. But if he falls off, then you might be able to get him at a lesser of a cap hit further on. But you need to have those conversations. Basically, as soon as a player's up for like a contract extension, if you're not at least having preliminary discussions about it, if they're a key player, you're not doing your job correctly. And I think every GM, every agent is doing that no matter what. Even if it's just cursory going, oh, just quick check in, how you feeling? And what are the and all that. You need to be doing that. So I don't expect the Canucks to have a resolution to the Kiefer Sherwood contract situation either way before, honestly, probably before February, before the Olympic breaks.
Yeah.
Olympic break. I could see that. I could see them, depending on how the season plays out, I could see them making a move around that time.
Yeah. Yeah. The other discussion that has been going on is, and this has been going on forever and ever, amen, the search for the second line center position is, they put Lucas Reichel at center. He's not necessarily a center, but he has played some center, so they've used that as an option. But even with the Philip Hedl, you still need another center. A couple of names have come up this week. Let's start in Calgary. Do you have an interest in Nazem Kadri?
If the Flames are willing to retain and not ask for much, Yeah, sure. But the problem with Kadri is again is the ticking time bomb of the age issue. Yeah, he had a great season last year, but he's 35 years old and has 3 years left after this season on his contract at a very significant cap hit. So when does the cliff fall off on Kadri? And there's no way to tell. So it's a big risk to give up anything of note for a Nazem Kadri. So no, I do not have much interest in him.
Yeah. There are some Flames bloggers that firmly believe that they're getting a first round pick for Nazem Kadri. Every time he scores, they're adding that up. And I am with you just on the Flame side. I think there's a lot of fantasy booking going on Nazem Kadri trade options. And I think that a lot of people need to stop listening to insiders. You're not getting any. I'm going to say this to Flames Twitter. You're not getting anything for Nazem Kadri. Sean is 100% correct. There are teams that are not going to take that 3 years at seven, or what is it here? Sorry. Too much money, quite frankly, for a lot of teams. It's $7 million for the next like 3-4 seasons here. Like no team is doing that. Sorry. It's going to be easier to trade Huberdeau than it is Kadri. The other name that came up is Steve.
Let me just follow up on that, Kev. I do think going back to the Sherwood talk, I think that's at best you're going to get a conditional pick based off of playoff performance.
Yeah.
For Kadri, you could get a conditional first based off of playoff performance. You could, but that is, I don't think you're getting anything more than that.
No, again, I think it's the. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go for it, Kev.
I was going to say I think it's the Hanifin trade. I think it's the exact compensation that they got for Hanifin: a conditional first, a project, and maybe another.
Yeah, not even a prospect, a project. Yeah, because that's what Miramonov was and is. Mm-hmm. Like he wasn't your he was older. He was already pro. Yeah, I think that's what you're getting for Kadri. And it's not anything against him as a player. If he was 3 years younger, maybe you might be able to get more for him, but it's just he's 35 years old. He has 3 years left on his contract. It's $7 million. Yes, the cap's going up, but that's still a lot of money that you're tying up on a player that could end up being a third liner at best.
Yeah.
He could be a second liner, but I think realistically next year and onwards on a competitive team, he's probably going into that bottom six role. And again, you don't know how long that body's going to hold up. It's a physical, demanding sport, and you just don't know. Could he surprise us and be productive for all 3 years? That's definitely within the realm of possibility. But you cannot be giving up a lot of assets and trade capital on what is likely more on the smaller chance side of things.
Yeah, great. The other name that came up, sort of, I guess some people were talking about it, is the 35-year-old Steven Stamkos. Let's just say that his adventures in Nashville have not turned out the way that I think anyone in Nashville hoped. And it turned out that Tampa made the right decision. Any interest in Steven Stamkos? Who has 2 points?
Kev, I'm having connection issues again here. But
2 points in 13 games for Steven Stamkos.
With Stamkos, again, it's with Stamkos again, it's just the age, and he's already fallen off the cliff, unfortunately, and he's making $8 million for the next 2 years after this. So yeah, it's not. Again, if Nashville's willing to retain 50% and then give him for like a conditional fifth, maybe you think about that, but I don't think that's something that Nashville would be realistically willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. So there are a number of teams that are looking for second line centers too. It's just unfortunately uh, that market is it's not as hot as people think it is, and I mean, yeah, these guys might be the top of the trade board when we do the trade deadline board, but that doesn't necessarily mean that GMs are going to be giving up what you think that they're giving up. And yeah, I don't think either of these options for the Canucks are good options. I think that you probably want someone in that Philip Hedl, Marco Rossi age group, someone that's there a little bit longer term. And that's going to be harder to get for sure. So, but that's kind of, if I'm the Canucks, that's kind of where I'm at this point there. This week we
In terms of
have.
the rumors that the sorry, Kev.
Go
In
ahead.
terms of the rumored trade options on the board for the Canucks, I still think the most realistic one is Pavel Zacha. 4.75 for another year after this season. He's 28 years old. Depending on what they want for him, as long as it's a reasonable acquisition cost, I don't see why that wouldn't be a good fit for the Canucks. So because I know, was it Friedman said that they were getting close as of last week, and then it cooled off a little bit. So like I said, we'll see where that goes. But I think out of those three that we talked about, those three that we talked about, it's the most realistic and fits what this team needs more than those other two.
Yep. Fair. Yeah. So this week, 2 home games, but they finish off this road trip Monday night against the aforementioned Predators. And then they got the Chicago Blackhawks, who are off to a reasonably good start, 5-4-3. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets, which is they are actually third in the Metro at 7-4. So they're just I think some people are surprised by where the Blue Jackets are at. I'm actually not. I kind of thought that they might be a playoff team this year, just considering everything that happened. That's a really good young team in Columbus. Goaltending is still the question. Blue line still a question, yeah. We do have some breaking news. If we'll just touch in here, there's been a lot of talk nationally about Zane Parekh. And it looks like Zane Parekh will play tonight against the Flyers, which means that's his 10th game, which means he will not be sent back to junior. And he's in year 1 of his entry-level contract. A lot of talk.
No, it doesn't. No, that doesn't mean anything. That just means that he'll burn 1 year of his.
But yeah, you can still send him down
ELC
if you want. If you want to, that's right.
They could still send him back to junior, and he just
cruise that 1 year. Yeah. Sorry, Sean is having connection issues, unfortunately. But yeah. Anyway, I'll just wait a second. Yeah. So again,
I'm back.
Yeah. Anyway, what were you saying?
I said, yeah, it's not that they can still send him down, and at this point I expect him to play in the World Juniors, correct?
Me too.
But they can still send him down to the junior, but it just means that he's only got 2 years. Actually, no, it just it means he'll burn 1 year off his contract. But it's like there's a 40 game for arbitration rights and other issues with contractual issues that is the next deadline for the Flames and Parekh.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll leave that for the Flames discussion. We do have one more question, and we'll add experiencing some tough loss here. Other than the 2011 Stanley Cup Final, which is probably one of the gut-wrenching losses in just such a different way in Vancouver, what is your worst hockey watching loss that you experienced?
It's either 1998 the Olympics when they left Gretzky on the bench for the shootout, or it's the 2004 Game 7 versus the Flames when Matt Cook ties it up right before overtime, and then they give up the Canucks give up the series winning goal.
I forgot about 98. Leaving Gretzky on the bench, which was for the shootout. Yeah, I forgot about that one. 2000. I was more Flames than Canucks during that point in my life. It was 2004. The Stanley Cup Final was such a gut wrenching. That was a gut wrenching loss. I'm trying to think of any other. I don't think there's really been any other ones that, like, in terms of hockey, like for Team Canada, there hasn't been a gut-wrenching loss that way other than 98. I guess that would be the second one. But, yeah, the 2004 Flame final loss was probably the most gut-wrenching, being that damn close. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sports, am I right?
Yeah.
All right, we will leave it there. How do we follow you?
I am BeardyCanuck03 on Twitter.
Tyler, busy doing adventures, TNOBLE. Chris, also doing adventures, SCHNEIDZ. We're going to have to Joe Hendry Devon at this point, but he's on Instagram at Devon Holmes Smith. I am KEVOLE, Facebook.com, YouTube.com, subscribe wherever you get your audio. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take some time away from social media. Get your head clear if you're feeling low. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.